only to find himself in the crosshairs of a host determined to make him look foolish. Today, we're diving into one of the most uncomfortable television moments ever captured live, where Joy Behar's relentless questioning pushed Robert De Niro to his absolute breaking point. Before we get into this wild story, make sure to hit that subscribe button and drop a comment below telling us about the most awkward TV moment you've ever witnessed. Trust me, you won't want to miss what unfolds here. The morning started like any other at the View Studios. Robert De Niro had arrived early, as he always did for interviews, sitting quietly in the green room while makeup artists prepared him for what was supposed to be a routine promotional appearance for his latest film. The legendary actor, known for his intense preparation and professionalism, had reviewed his talking points with his publicist just minutes before being called to set. As De Niro walked onto the familiar stage, the audience erupted in applause. The veteran actor waved politely, taking his seat across from the panel of hosts. Joy Behar, seated at the far end, barely looked up from her notes, a subtle but telling sign of what was to come. "Welcome back to The View," Joy announced to the cameras, her voice carrying that familiar sharp edge that longtime viewers knew well. "We're here with Academy Award winner Robert De Niro, who's got a new movie out that I'm sure someone somewhere is excited about." De Niro's eyebrows raised slightly at the backhanded introduction. He shifted in his chair, clearly caught off guard by the dismissive tone. "Well, thank you for having me," he replied carefully, his famous gravelly voice measured and controlled. "Oh, don't thank us yet," Joy shot back with a smile that didn't reach her eyes. "Let's talk about this new film of yours. Another tough guy role, I'm assuming? Seems like you've been playing the same character for, 40 years now?" The studio fell silent. Even the other hosts, Whoopi Goldberg, Sarah Haynes, and the others, exchanged uncomfortable glances. This wasn't the usual friendly banter they were accustomed to during celebrity interviews. De Niro leaned forward slightly, his hands clasped together. "Actually, Joy, if you had watched the film, you'd know it's quite different from anything I've done recently. It's a character study about a man dealing with loss and redemption." "Oh, I see," Joy replied, shuffling through her notes dramatically. "So it's a departure from your usual angry man shouting at people routine? How refreshing." The audience was dead quiet now. You could practically feel the tension radiating from the set. De Niro's jaw tightened visibly, but he maintained his composure. "I think you might be confusing me with some of the characters I've played, Joy. There's actually quite a range in my work if you look beyond the surface." Range?" Joy let out a short laugh. "Robert, come on. You do one of two things in every movie. You either mumble incomprehensibly, or you explode in rage. Sometimes, both in the same scene." Whoopi tried to interject, sensing the interview was spiraling out of control. "Joy, maybe we should—" No, let me finish." Joy cut her off, her attention laser-focused on De Niro. "I'm just saying what everyone's thinking. You've been coasting on your reputation for years. When was the last time you actually challenged yourself as an actor?" De Niro's face had turned a shade redder, his famous intensity now fully engaged. "Joy, I don't know what your problem is with me personally, but this is supposed to be about the film. Maybe we could actually discuss that, instead of your personal opinions about my career?" "My problem?" Joy's voice rose an octave. "My problem is that actors like you come on this show expecting us to just fawn all over you because you made a couple good movies in the 70s. This isn't entertainment tonight, Robert. We ask real questions here." The camera operators were having a field day, capturing every micro-expression on De Niro's face as he processed what was happening. His publicist, visible in the wings, looked like she was about to have a heart attack. "Real questions?" De Niro repeated slowly, his voice dropping to that dangerous low register that had intimidated countless actors over the years. "You call personal attacks real questions? You haven't asked me one thing about the actual movie, the director, the story we're trying to tell. You're more interested in taking cheap shots." Joy leaned back in her chair, clearly enjoying the reaction she was getting. "Oh, please. Don't act like you're above criticism. You're an actor, not a deity, though I'm sure some people treat you like one. This is unbelievable, De Niro muttered, shaking his head. I've been doing interviews for 50 years, and I've never encountered anything like this. Well, maybe that's the problem, Joy fired back. Maybe you're so used to softball questions and ass-kissing that you can't handle a real conversation. The other hosts were now openly uncomfortable, shifting in their seats and looking to their producers for guidance. Sarah Haynes attempted to redirect the conversation. Robert, why don't you tell us about working with your co-stars in this film? Crozy. But Joy wasn't finished. Actually, Sarah, I'd like to know something else. Robert, do you think your reputation for being difficult to work with affects the performances of actors around you? De Niro's eyes widened in disbelief. Difficult to work with? Who told you that? Oh, come on. Joy waved her hand dismissively. Everyone in Hollywood knows the stories. The tantrums. The demands. The way you treat crew members when things don't go your way. That's completely false, De Niro said, his voice getting stronger. You're talking about rumors and gossip. I've worked with the same people for decades because they know who I really am. Joy shuffled through her cards again, clearly prepared for this line of attack. Really? Because I have it on good authority that you made an assistant cry just last week on set. The accusation hung in the air like a bomb. De Niro stared at Joy for a long moment, his face cycling through disbelief, anger, and something approaching disgust. You have it on good authority? From who? What assistant? This is exactly the kind of tabloid garbage that... I protect my sources, Joy interrupted smugly. But the story I heard was pretty detailed. This is character assassination, De Niro said flatly. You're making things up. Whoopi finally found her voice. Joy, I think maybe we should move on to... No, Whoopi, De Niro said, holding up his hand. I want to hear this story. Joy, since you're so confident in your sources, why don't you share the details of this alleged incident? Let's hear exactly what you think happened. Joy's confident demeanor flickered for just a moment. She hadn't expected De Niro to call her bluff so directly. Well, I don't think it's appropriate to get into all the specifics on air. Of course you don't, De Niro said, leaning back with a bitter smile. Because there are no specifics. There is no incident. There is no assistant. You're just throwing mud and hoping something sticks. The tension in the studio was now palpable. Camera operators zoomed in on both participants, capturing every nuance of the escalating confrontation that was unfolding live on national television. Joy's face flushed red as she realized she'd been caught in her fabrication. But instead of backing down, she doubled down on her attack. Just because I won't reveal my source doesn't mean it didn't happen, Robert. Maybe you're so used to people being afraid of you that you've forgotten how you actually behave. Afraid of me? De Niro's voice carried a dangerous edge now. Joy, the only thing I'm afraid of right now is how low this show has sunk. This used to be a respectable program. Oh, spare me the lecture about respect, Joy snapped back. Coming from someone who's made a career out of glorifying violence and toxic masculinity. How many movies have you made where the solution to every problem is punching someone or shooting them? De Niro stared at her in amazement. Are you seriously going to sit there and criticize me for playing characters? Do you understand what acting is? Should I hold you responsible for every stupid thing you've said on this show over the years? Stupid? Joy's voice pitched higher. Now who's being disrespectful? You started this, Joy. De Niro replied coldly. You invited me here under false pretenses, then spent the entire time trying to humiliate me. And yes, some of the things you've said today have been incredibly stupid. The other hosts were frantically looking to their producers off camera. Whoopi made another attempt to regain control. Maybe we should take a quick commercial break and... No. Joy cut her off sharply. I'm not done. Robert, Since you want to talk about respect, let's discuss your recent comments about politics. Don't you think it's hypocritical for someone who makes violent movies to lecture people about civility in society? De Niro's eyes narrowed. What does that even mean? You're just throwing out random accusations now. First, I'm difficult to work with. Then I made someone cry? Now I'm a hypocrite? What's next? I'm pointing out contradictions in your public persona, Joy said, clearly pleased with herself. You can't have it both ways. You can't profit from violence in entertainment and then act morally superior in real life. Morally superior? De Niro laughed bitterly. Lady, you've spent the last 10 minutes trying to destroy my reputation on live television based on gossip and lies. Who's acting morally superior here? Joy shuffled her cards again, but her hands were visibly shaking now. I'm asking legitimate questions that entertainment journalists are afraid to ask. No, you're not, De Niro said firmly. You're conducting a hit job. There's a difference between journalism and whatever this is. Sarah Haynes tried once more to redirect. Robert, can we talk about your process as an actor? How do you prepare for... Robert. Actually, Sarah, I'd love to answer that, De Niro said, turning to her gratefully. But I don't think Joy wants to hear about acting. She seems more interested in character assassination than actual characters. Joy wasn't about to let him off the hook. Don't try to play the victim here, Robert. You're a grown man who's been in this business for 50 years. If you can't handle tough questions, maybe you shouldn't do interviews. Tough questions? De Niro's voice rose for the first time. You call making up stories about me making assistants cry a tough question? You call insulting my entire body of work a tough question? These aren't questions at all. They're attacks. Everything I've said is fair game, Joy insisted. You're a public figure. Your behavior, your choices, your impact on society, it's all open for discussion. My behavior? De Niro stood up slightly in his chair. Joy, my behavior right now is remarkably restrained, considering what you've put me through in the last 15 minutes. You've accused me of being difficult, of making people cry, of being hypocritical, all without a shred of evidence, and now you're questioning my right to object to any of it? The audience was completely silent now, watching this train wreck unfold in real time. Some viewers at home were reaching for their remotes, while others were glued to their screens, unable to look away from the disaster. I have every right to ask these questions, Joy said defiantly. This is my show. Your show? De Niro repeated incredulously. Last I checked, this was called The View, not the Joy Behar show. And even if it were your show, that doesn't give you the right to ambush guests with lies and personal attacks. Joy's composure was cracking now. I don't have to sit here and be lectured by you about how to do my job. And I don't have to sit here and be slandered by you on national television. De Niro shot back. But here we are. Whoopi made one final attempt to salvage the interview. Look, everybody, let's just take a step back here. No, Whoopi. Joy interrupted again, her voice trembling with anger now. I'm tired of being told to back down when I'm asking the questions that need to be asked. Robert De Niro thinks he can come on this show and intimidate me, but I'm not backing down. De Niro stared at her with a mixture of disbelief and pity. Intimidate you? Joy. I haven't raised my voice. I haven't threatened you. I haven't even used profanity despite having every reason to. How exactly am I intimidating you? Your whole demeanor, Joy said, gesturing wildly. The way you're looking at me, the way you're talking to me, you're trying to make me feel small. I'm trying to defend myself against your baseless accusations, De Niro replied. If that makes you feel small, maybe you should examine why you made those accusations in the first place. Joy's eyes flashed with anger. Don't you dare psychoanalyze me. I don't need career advice from someone who hasn't made a decent movie in 20 years. The words hung in the air like a slap. De Niro went completely still, his face cycling through several emotions before settling on cold fury. 20 years? Joy, do you actually know anything about my recent work, or are you just throwing out numbers? I know enough, Joy said, but her voice lacked conviction now. No, you don't, De Niro said quietly, his voice deadly calm. You haven't done any research. You haven't watched my recent films. You don't know anything about my career, my process, or my character. You came in here with a predetermined agenda to tear me down, and you've been making things up as you go along. Joy tried to interrupt, but De Niro held up his hand. I'm talking now. You've had your turn to spread lies and rumors. Now it's my turn to respond. The studio was so quiet you could hear the camera equipment humming. Every person in the building was holding their breath, waiting to see what would happen next. You want to know about intimidation, Joy? This whole interview has been an attempt to intimidate me. You've tried to bully me with false accusations, personal attacks, and professional insults. The only difference is that I won't be bullied. Joy's face was now completely red, whether from anger or embarrassment was unclear. I was doing my job. No, De Niro said firmly. Your job is to interview guests about their projects and their work. Your job is not to assassinate their character based on gossip and personal vendettas. Personal vendetta? Joy's voice cracked slightly. I don't have a personal vendetta against you. De Niro studied her face for a long moment. Then what is this? Because it sure feels personal. Did I do something to offend you? Did I turn down an invitation? Refuse to do the show before? What did I do to deserve this treatment? Joy opened her mouth to respond, then closed it again. For the first time in the entire interview, she seemed genuinely at a loss for words. The silence stretched on for what felt like an eternity. Joy's mouth opened and closed several times, but no words came out. The other hosts exchanged panicked looks, as their colleague appeared to be having some kind of breakdown on live television. Finally, Joy found her voice, but it was barely above a whisper. I don't know what you're talking about. De Niro leaned forward, his voice gentle but firm. Joy, something is clearly bothering you about me personally. This level of hostility doesn't come from nowhere. What is it? There's nothing personal, Joy said, but her voice was shaking now. I just think someone needs to hold celebrities accountable. Accountable for what? De Niro pressed. You haven't mentioned anything I've actually done wrong. You've made vague accusations about my personality, criticized movies you apparently haven't seen, and invented stories about incidents that never happened. What exactly are you holding me accountable for? Joy looked around desperately at her co-hosts, but they were all staring at her with expressions ranging from confusion to horror. Whoopi finally spoke up. Joy, maybe we should... Stop trying to protect me, Whoopi, Joy snapped. I can handle this myself. Can you? De Niro asked quietly. Because from where I'm sitting, it looks like you're having some kind of personal crisis and taking it out on me. Joy's face went white, then red again. How dare you suggest that I'm having a crisis? You don't know anything about me. You're right, De Niro acknowledged. I don't know you personally, but I know what I'm seeing right now. And it's not professional journalism. It's someone lashing out. I am not lashing out, Joy said, her voice rising to nearly a shout. I am doing my job. No, Joy, De Niro said sadly. You're embarrassing yourself and everyone else on this set. Look around. Look at your colleagues' faces. Look at the crew. Everyone here knows this isn't normal. For the first time, Joy actually looked around the studio. The camera operators were staring at her with obvious concern. The producers in the wings looked mortified. Her fellow hosts were avoiding eye contact entirely. Joy started, then stopped. For a moment, something like realization flickered across her features. De Niro saw the opening and pressed gently. Joy, I don't know what's going on in your life right now, but whatever it is, I'm not the enemy here. I'm just an actor trying to promote a movie. I didn't come here to hurt you or embarrass you." Joy's hands were visibly trembling now as she gripped her note cards. "You think you're so superior, don't you? You think you're better than all of us?" "No, Joy, I don't," De Niro said softly. "I think I'm a guy who showed up to work today and got blindsided by someone who clearly has some issues they need to work through." The word issues seemed to trigger something in Joy. Her composure completely shattered. "Issues? You want to talk about issues? You want to know what my issue is?" The studio held its collective breath. Even the producers seemed frozen, unsure whether to cut to commercial or let this play out. "My issue," Joy continued, her voice breaking, "is that people like you get to waltz through life being celebrated for doing the bare minimum, while the rest of us have to fight for every scrap of respect." De Niro blinked in surprise. "Joy, what are you talking about?" "You've been coasting for years," Joy said, tears now visible in her eyes. "Everyone knows it. Your last 10 movies have been garbage, but people still treat you like you're some kind of god because you made a couple good films 40 years ago." "Even if that were true," De Niro said carefully, "what does that have to do with how you've treated me today?" Joy wiped her eyes with the back of her hand, smearing her makeup. "Because it's not fair. It's not fair that mediocre men get passes while women have to prove themselves every single day." The pieces were starting to come together for De Niro. "Joy, are you saying you attacked me today because you think I represent some kind of unfair system?" "I'm saying that someone needs to call out the emperor for having no clothes," Joy said, but her voice lacked conviction now. "But Joy," Whoopi interjected gently, "that's not what this was. This was personal attacks and made-up stories." Joy turned on Whoopi with surprising venom. "Don't you start too, Whoopi. I see how you treat male guests differently than female guests. We all coddle these men." Whoopi's eyebrows shot up. "Excuse me?" De Niro held up his hand again. "Ladies, please. Joy, I understand you might feel frustrated about inequality in the entertainment industry. That's a legitimate concern. But what you did to me today wasn't activism. It was cruelty." "Cruelty?" Joy laughed bitterly. "You want to talk about cruelty? Try being a woman in this business for 30 years. I'm sure that's been difficult," De Niro said sincerely. "But Joy, I'm not responsible for every injustice you've faced. I'm just one person trying to do my job, same as you." Joy stared at him for a long moment, and something in her expression began to crumble. She started, then stopped. "Joy," De Niro said gently, "I think you owe the audience an apology. And honestly, you owe me one too." The suggestion seemed to snap Joy back to reality. She looked around the studio again, taking in the faces of everyone watching her. The weight of what she'd done seemed to hit her all at once. Joy began, then stood up abruptly. "I can't do this." "Joy, wait," Whoopi called out. But Joy was already walking off the set, her microphone pack trailing behind her. The studio erupted in chaos as producers rushed onto the set and the remaining hosts tried to figure out what to do next. De Niro sat in his chair, looking stunned by the sudden turn of events. Whoopi turned to the camera with professional composure. "We're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we'll continue our conversation with Robert De Niro about his new film." As the cameras stopped rolling, De Niro turned to Whoopi. "Is she okay? Should someone go check on her?" "The producers will handle it," Whoopi assured him. "Robert, I am so sorry about all of this. That was completely unprofessional." De Niro shook his head. "She's clearly going through something. I just hope she gets the help she needs." When the cameras rolled again after the commercial break, Joy's chair sat empty. The remaining hosts conducted a normal, respectful interview about De Niro's film, but the damage was already done. The internet was already buzzing with clips of Joy's meltdown. And within hours, the entire confrontation had gone viral. As the show wrapped up, De Niro stood and shook hands with the remaining hosts. "Thank you for trying to keep things professional," he told them. Walking off the set, De Niro couldn't help but feel a mixture of anger and sadness about what had transpired. He'd come to promote his work and ended up witnessing someone's very public breakdown. The incident would be talked about for weeks, dissected and analyzed by media critics and armchair psychologists alike. But for De Niro, it served as a stark reminder of how quickly things could go wrong when professionalism gave way to personal vendettas and unchecked emotions. What did you think of this incredible meltdown? Have you ever seen a talk show host lose it this badly on live television? Subscribe to the channel and let me know in the comments below